I'm Logan Webb, and you're listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the three-time world champion, San Francisco Giants. With hosts Chad King and Eric Nathanson. This is Torture Cast.
It's Monday, August 12th, 2024, and this is episode 304 of the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco... it's been so long, I don't even know how to pronounce their name anymore. San Francisco Giants. That's who they play for. That's the city that they're
What team?
from. Yeah, what team is this? San Francisco 49ers? They're playing right now. I'm your host, Chad King, and joining me on the other end of the mic, Eric Nathanson. How you doing, man?
We are back. It is good to be talking Giants. It is the Giants we root for, Giants, Giants. I'm so happy to be talking about a winning baseball team. We didn't delay recording because the Giants were struggling with some personal things. I had something happen a couple weeks ago that prevented us. So just glad to be back talking Giants baseball again, not losing the season, not letting it get away from us.
Yeah, there was just some personal issues that came up with Eric and myself, and it's no big deal. It's just things just kept getting in the way. But now we're back. Yeah. We haven't pod faded officially, so we're back on the horse. But man, I tell you, a lot has happened in that time, and I know that in our last episode we were pretty pessimistic about the Giants' chances, and I don't. You know, I'm still defending that position, to be honest, because things have changed for the better. But it's not like they're a lock. It's not like they're 50-50 chances or anything for the postseason. But at least things have gotten better. I mean, they've gone from 4 or 5 or even 6 games out. They're now a game and a half back. There used to be 5 teams ahead of them. Now there's only 3 teams ahead of them. So things are much better. They're 2 games above 500. They were 3 games yesterday. Unfortunately, they lost the final game against the Tigers. I was hoping they would sweep that, but overall, really since the break, Eric, they're above 500. They're playing well. Their batting average and pitching is well above the league average. So, all in all, things are pointing in the right direction. It's just a matter of what can they do over the last 42 games to somehow sneak in.
Yeah, they're in this stretch right now where they just finished some easy game. I don't want to say easy, an easier part of the schedule, as far as going to Cincinnati and Washington and having Detroit come to town. They have Oakland and the White Sox next week. So this is the time to get fat. I mean, coming out of the All-Star break, they lost 2 or 3 to Colorado and 3 or 4 to the Dodgers, and that was right before the deadline. And we're like, oh, crap, they're sellers. This team sucks. Let's get rid of some parts. We were talking about trading Snell. I was talking about trading Doval, which – frankly, I wish they had, because that would have worked out a lot better. We were not expecting them to actually be kind of in a race right now. So it is pleasantly surprising. I'm trying like hell to be positive about the future, but like you, I'm still kind of defending where I was at before. They still do have 3 teams to leapfrog. They are, a game and a half back. But the nice thing about that is they play Atlanta for 4 this week. They play Arizona and San Diego a combined 9 times in September. They even finished the season, a combined 12 times in September. They even finished the season against St. Louis, who they're looking up at as well. So they have their opportunities. So while I'm still a little skeptical, there is like some optimism in the back of my brain that's saying like, this is possible, man. Giants could make the playoffs. They might actually be contenders. I mean, it's tough to wrap your head around, but here they are. Even after not making huge moves at the deadline, they're poised to be in the race. And as a Giants fan, we're supposed to say that's all I can ask for. But I had playoff expectations for this season, so I'm not happy to just be in the race. I want to see the Giants, if they do something, make some noise. But it's nice to have baseball that matters right now.
For sure. I mean, we came in with our preseason predictions in the I think Willie and I were in the mid to high 80s, and you were at 90 something wins. So yeah, we had some lofty expectations for this team, and on paper, honestly, I still look back and go, that should have happened, right? I do think this team on paper was good enough to be that. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out. The starting rotation got blown up early. The hitting just did not heat up in the first few months of the season, and they just really, really struggled. So, I mean, the good thing is that you just said they're in a position and they have a lot of control of their own destiny. They have really those three teams. It's the New York Mets, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Atlanta Braves that are directly ahead or tied with them right now. Well, guess what? 4 games against the Braves this week. I mean, that is so crucial, Eric. So crucial. If they somehow can take 3 out of 4 from Atlanta, that's going to significantly improve their chances. If they lose 3 out of 4, or God forbid get swept, that's when you might be able to start tapping in that coffin nail. I mean, that's how quickly this things can change, because it's only 42 games left.
I guarantee you, they will not be swept, because Luke Jackson will enter the game at some point for the Braves and hand over the lead to the Giants, and we'll all get to celebrate that Luke Jackson finally blew something to make us happy. So I guarantee you the Giants will at least win one of the next 4 games thanks to Luke Jackson.
Well, let's go ahead and address that one right now, since we haven't had a chance to talk about the trade that the Giants pulled off with the Atlanta Braves. They sent the mentioned Luke Jackson, thank you, Lord Jesus Christ and Almighty and the baseball gods, and they traded away Jorge Soler to Atlanta. And, a lot of people were surprised by that, and they had just signed him to a 3-year deal. It was their biggest deal of the offseason. I mean, yeah, per year, Blake Snell was bigger, but it was 1 with a 1, right? This was a 3-year guaranteed. So it was different, right? It was the most money they had obligated to a person over the winter. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't as good as advertised. He got really hot before he was traded. Like in a week, he raised his average from 220 to 240. He just went like big gangbusters. So, some people were upset about that, going, well, now he's just heating up. Maybe we should hold on to him. I think of course, they didn't trade Jorge Soler just because of Luke Jackson. I think that was the throw in at the end. Like, please take him back. Please. It didn't work out for us. I think part of it was ownership and Farhan. I don't know. I mean, it reminds me of the Bill Walsh days when he got rid of players before they had their severe depreciation time, before their big dips. We're talking Jerry Rice and Ronnie Lott and Joe Montana and the like, right? Yeah. And it kind of feels like they were looking at his numbers and how he was projecting over the next 2, and they kind of maybe had an opportunity to trade him and said, you know what? I think we can replace most of his production with a younger guy, because we have a log jam right now. And we're going to be able to save some money with this and be able to invest maybe into a different free agent in another position next year or whatever. And so I'm not critical of the move. I think it makes sense in a lot of ways, because Jorge Soler didn't come out like gangbusters. And who knows, maybe he'll go back with Atlanta and just tear it up. Maybe he'll be good for the next 2 years, and we'll look back and go, man, why didn't he do that for the Giants? But, different situations, different places, things happen like that. But yeah, a guy who was hitting 220 for most of the year with a few bombs, although when he did make contact, my God, it was fun to watch. He was, probably the strongest dude on the team. Yeah. So in one way, I was sad to see him go because of the potential threat he gives you at any given day, right? We saw it in the 2020 playoffs or the 2021 playoffs when he went off for Atlanta and was World Series MVP. So he has that capability within him. But I think the Giants just looked at it long term and said, you know what? We bought a little more than we could chew. We think we can replace most of his production with a younger guy and save a lot of money. I don't know. What was your impression of that?
It's a salary dump, and I'm fine with that, because there's no way that they should have signed Jorge Soler to $14 million a year like they did when they signed him. I've been looking at his page since we've been talking. The guy made the All-Star team once.
Yeah.
And that was last year, which is basically what got him this contract. The Giants invested, over $13 million in Jorge Soler just for the 4 months of service that he gave them. And clearly he's a better fit with Atlanta. The guy's got 4 home runs in 10 games in Atlanta already.
I know. I know.
He's hitting 297. His OPS is 1.044. I mean, that's ridiculous. He was only having a 749 OPS with the Giants. Granted, his on base percentage was pretty good at 330, and he was starting to walk more and do the things you want him to do. But I'm totally fine with the move. Frankly, Encarnacion gets me more excited when he comes to the plate than Soler ever did. I think it's fun. I don't think Encarnacion was the guy that they thought was going to be the replacement. I think Luciano was the guy they really thought would be the replacement. But the way Gerard Encarnacion has come on, it's made me totally forget that Jorge Soler was even on this team. Yeah. And, you know, they got, Tyler Matzik and Sabin Ceballos. I don't know who that guy is for them. But that's why I say it was just a straight-up salary dump. You know, I don't care that they got a bag of balls. They got Luke Jackson off the team in an extra moment, and they shed Jorge Soler's contract, which is all Farhan was looking to do. He clearly wasn't working out. I mean, it just didn't feel like the right fit. And so I'm glad that they were able to get rid of it. And Farhan's not been afraid to pull the trigger to get rid of bad moves. You know, he sent Haniger back to Seattle. I think that he realized he overpaid for Jock after last year. So I was totally happy with the move, and you know I think it's helped out because Encarnacion has come in and done some stuff. Luciano's put the bat on the ball a couple times as well and been a part of rallies, you know. And then they also traded for Mark Canha to help in the outfield because Soler was literally just a DH, not in the outfield, at first base and the outfield if they need it, but Soler was just a first baseman. I mean, just a DH. So it was nice for them to go out and get Canha, who can do multiple roles in that respect. So I thought that was the best move of the deadline, was picking up Canha. You know, it's ironic because on Giants Chatter, we've joked for years that Mark Canha is the perfect Giant. And, well, here he is.
Yeah, for sure. He also went to my high school. He went to Bellarmine. So that's pretty cool. Just my own personal connection there. I think it's great having one of my, alums basically on the team. So, and he grew up a Giants fan too. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, what's really weird about Jorge Soler is that you think of him in that World Series MVP role, but remember he was traded to Atlanta from Kansas City that year, and then he signed with Miami the year after the World Series. So before this year, he had only played 55 games with the Braves, and this year he played 93 with the Giants. So he had almost doubled his game total of the Braves with the Giants. You don't think of it like that, though. Like, in my mind, he had way more games in a Braves uniform than a Giants uniform, but that's not true. Now he's at 65 games, still less than the Giants. But, you don't think about him being a Marlin or a Royal, or even a Cub back in the day, although you may have.
I do,
that's
yeah.
where he started.
Oh, yeah. I remember watching him come up. That's part of why I was excited when he signed. But now looking at the numbers and stuff, I mean, like you mentioned it, he's played 30 fewer games with Atlanta, yet he's managed to hit 6 more home runs with Atlanta.
18 to 12. You're right. Yeah.
Why is the fit so much better there? So it just seemed to be one of those it didn't work out type of contracts. But seriously, I don't get why they gave him so much money in the first place. I wish I'd looked into this further back in February when it happened. So I thought it was a good move. I mean, they didn't improve the team, but they didn't hurt the team by getting rid of him.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think if you could bottle up, hitting 4 home runs in 10 games and hitting just under 300, if they could have bottled that up, and they would have kept him for sure. But, and that may not be sustainable for the rest of the way. But whatever the reason is, he seems to be more comfortable in a Braves uniform. I don't know why. It is what it is. But he and the Braves and Luke Jackson are coming to town for 4 games. And like I was saying, this could go a long way into, finding out where the Giants' playoff hopes go. I mean, when they got rid of Nick Ahmed, he was picked up by the Dodgers, and he immediately hurt them with a home run, what ended up being a game winner down in L.A. after the All-Star break. So it's kind of like, I hope similar things don't happen in this 4-game series, right? Because Jorge Soler is hot right now, and I could see it happening. I could see Soler being the hero in 1 or 2 of these games. I hope it doesn't happen, but I could see it. It's not implausible, that's for sure.
I mean, it'd be very Giantsy if that
It'd be
were to
very
happen.
Giantsy, right? Yeah. No, I like the guy. I wish it had worked out, but it didn't. And the Giants have some more flexibility now going forward, so that's fine. But yeah, Mark
Yeah.
Canha, it's a good thing. And then what's happened more recently, we'll just stick on kind of the personnel moves, and we'll get back to some performance-based stuff here. They optioned Camilo Doval to Sacramento. And hey, look, I am the first person on that woo-woo train. I am all for that. If I was running the Giants, that's something that I don't think I would be afraid to do if I had full autonomy and authority over personnel moves. Obviously, you don't see that a lot with established players because of a variety of reasons. But he's still young. Yes, he had an all-star breakout year last year, but this has happened to players in the major leagues where they're all-stars one year and back in AAA the next year. It happens. He regressed this year, and I think either he got too comfortable or he thought his place was written in stone, and maybe that's something to do with it. I think the move definitely telegraphs a lot of that in the sense of, yeah, he needs more seasoning, but maybe he got too big for his britches and he needed a little bit of a wake-up call.
It was a shock for sure because it seemed like he was well established as the closer. I've been watching. I went back. I watched video of him yesterday from this year and from last year, and there doesn't seem to be any difference in his delivery, in his release point, in any of that stuff. So we're left to speculate. Is it mental? You know what I mean? And it's tough that we are left to speculate. Maybe getting sent down is the thing that he needs to get himself mentally prepared, or this could be the end of Camilo Doval with the Giants, quite frankly. He could be pissed that they sent him down, and he already seems like he's a bit of somebody you have to treat with kid gloves, is the way I'll put it. And so he might be pissed off and angry right now. I mean, the guy went down. He was one. Oh my God! I don't know if you saw this, but yesterday he was one pitch away from an immaculate ninth inning. One pitch away, and then he walked a guy on 4 straight. Then the next guy hit an RBI triple. And then the next guy hit an RBI single for the walk-off win. And he blew a save for Sacramento, too. And so, I mean, that can't be mechanical. You can't throw 8 straight strikes in an inning and then throw 4 straight balls and tell me that something mechanically is wrong. There's something wrong mentally with his approach to what he's doing. And I'm not sure he's going to get it figured out with the Giants. That's why earlier I alluded to it. I wish they had traded him because his value was so much higher earlier this season. And even during the last offseason, it would have been such a great idea to trade. Last year when the Giants didn't seem like they were going to contend, he was having a stellar year, would have been a great time to trade him. That's where Farhan's lacked before, is he doesn't get value for these guys at times. Because like Soler was a salary dump. You know what I mean? It wasn't even a getting value type thing. And Doval's going to fall into this same category. I think mentally there's something wrong with him, and I'm not sure it's going to be fixed as a Giant. And so I'm okay with the move. It was shocking. But let's just not try to force Jordan Hicks into the role. Let's give Tyler Walker and even maybe Taylor Rogers a chance to do it. I mean, not Tyler Walker, Ryan Walker. What year is this?
Yeah, that's back to 2008. That's 2008, right. Tyler Walker. Actually, my good buddy who has season tickets for the Giants, one of his really good friends was Tyler Walker, that he went to high school with and played with. So when we went down to spring training in 2008, we got to meet him and talk with him for a little bit because, they were buddies back in high school. But, yeah, that was pretty cool at the time. June 2nd. Since June 2nd, Camilo Doval had a 6.75 ERA and a 1.83 whip through 21 and a third innings. You cannot have your closer coming down the last 2 months of the season trying to get a playoff spot like that. And we saw it again last weekend, right? He gave up 3 runs in that last inning and was charged with the blown save. Thankfully, the Giants came back and scored 4 in the 10th and won it. But you just can't have that over and over and over again. And even your most true and hard, fast, steadfast homers, known as, Mike Krukow, absolutely went off on him, just went super hypercritical on him and just said, he's done. He's got to figure it out. He can't continue to do this. So even when one of the biggest Giants homers has finally had enough, that's a really big sign. And I'm sure, the players, they get frustrated being out on the field. I mean, like back in high school and back in the Little League, don't you remember those times where, the coach put in the player at a certain time of the game and everyone kind of went, here we go, I don't know. Maybe some of the players feel that when Doval was going into safe situations. It's kind of like, all right, hold on to your butts, like that meme with Sam Jackson, right? It's just, it is what it is. And something needed to change. You can't just keep throwing this guy into these safe situations and expect consistent good results when they've been inconsistent the entire time. Things just don't magically change. Something had to provoke it. Oh, the walks are just awful.
The not staying in the zone at all. That's what really drives me nuts about it. Like, I feel like he has more talent than, say, a Brian Wilson did, but he's doing every ninth inning like Brian Wilson, and after a while, because he allows the extra base runners, it comes back to bite him. Like you said in that Washington game, I mean, they were poised. They scored 3 runs in the top of the ninth. All right, fantastic. We're gonna get out of here. This rain is 14 different rain delays, and then Camilo blows it. And I feel like that must have been the last straw for them. Obviously, it was, because that was the last time he pitched for the big club. But it was shocking. You don't really change closers mid-season that often unless there's an injury. So to see the Giants actually pull the trigger, it was one of the few times that it surprised me. So going forward, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully they'll just keep winning ball games, 17-1, and they won't have to worry about it.
Right, because Ryan Walker came in even though he had one major league save. I think this was his second one, but it was the first time he was really put in a true save situation, and he had 2 guys on with 1 out. Things started to look a little dicey there, and he was able to get the last 2 guys, and fine, but everyone had to take that collective breath going, damn it. It just seems like no matter what, it's just a stressful situation, right? It's a tough job. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, just psychologically, players go out there it's a different mindset you have to have, and you got to block all that noise out. I know these guys feel different pitching in the 9th with the game on the line versus pitching in the 5th. It's just different. So
yeah, if it were easy, the Giants wouldn't have had 3 different closers for 3 different World Series winning teams.
I was kind of exactly, right? That's right. Yeah. That's a good point. 3 different closers for 3 different teams.
Wilson, Romo, and then Casilla. And even Casilla never got into a World Series game, or at least not into a save opportunity in the World Series. I think he might not have pitched the entire World Series. So it's one of those things where, it's important, but it gets highlighted when things don't go well. Is really what it is. It's rare to have a shutdown closer. These guys, they're all performing at the highest level. So to expect our closer to always have the upper hand, it might be a little too fan of us. The fans might just, they don't see that sometimes. Like, the other team has bats too. I got to give them credit for beating a pitcher who they're no longer afraid of. Camilo has been seen by the league. They figured him out. He's a 2-pitch pitcher. That's all he's got. And if he's not accurate, you just wait him out. And if some schmuck like me sitting in Arizona can figure that out, then damn well the front offices of Major League Baseball teams have figured that out. So, the Giants were right to do it. I'm with you. It was the correct move. It was shocking, but it was the correct move.
Yeah, that's the thing with closers is we've had good closers in the past, but they don't last very long. From your Rob Nens and Rod Becks and Brian Wilsons and Sergio Romos, I mean, they're around for 2-3 years tops. And that's it. It's rare you get your Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman and Lee Smiths and those guys, right? Which they last, 5, 6, up to 10 years. That just doesn't happen anymore. Even closers that have been good the last, 5 years, they're no longer closing, right? Most of these closers are flashes in a pan. And part of it has to do with the mentality, flaming out a UCL, and then just all the young kids coming up throwing 102 too. It's just like, and the league just adjusting to it, like you said. That's what I would tell people facing Doval is absolutely take till you get a strike, and if you get to a 3-1 count, take the next pitch. Just let's get runners on base. Let's put traffic on, because then he really struggles. And
right.
yeah, That seems to happen to him all the time. So anyway, look, I hope he figures it out. But yeah, the outing down in Sacramento doesn't help. That just...
I mean, one pitch away from an immaculate inning. Not even just getting out of the inning, 9 strikes. And then to walk a guy in 4 straight, that blows my mind. It's totally, I don't want to call him a head case because I don't know him well enough. But let's be honest, Camilo's body language has never been the greatest. He seems to have a bit of a laissez-faire attitude out there. Things don't seem to bother him that much. And you have to wonder if that kind of an attitude caught up to him. You know, I mean, we have people like Anthony Rendon who say, well, I don't love baseball. So there's got to be others in there. Maybe Camilo's one of them. Again, I'm not trying to question him. I don't know the man personally. So I don't want to, speculate too hard. But something's up. It can't just be physical. There's got to be a mental aspect to this. So
I think
good luck to him.
Oh, for sure. And I want him back. When he's dominant and he's right, he is one of the best closers in the league. He's just inconsistent, right? But when he gets in one of those streaks, it is fantastic. And that's what the Giants would need in the playoffs. That's what the Giants will need down the stretch if they want to stay in this wild card race. They cannot afford to blow games in the 9th inning. They can't. No. It's not on the table. The whole 162 games have been compressed down to 25%. They got 42 games left. That's it. So every game is like 4 times as important now. I mean, I know they all count the same. That's not what I'm saying. But just with the optics and the mental pressure, it does feel like they're 4 times as important. And then they'll be 6 times as important, and then 10 times as important if they're still within a game with 10 games to go, right? That's just the way it works.
Yeah, especially because winning some of these games right now, if you look at the records of the teams that are all around them, the Giants have actually played 2 or 3 more games than like everybody else. And they have 3 off days coming up in the next 17 days. So a lot of that is going to balance out finally. But if you can win these games in the interim, then they can't catch up to you in the win column if you pass them ahead of time. It like makes it even better. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's why games like yesterday are so frustrating. Chapman in the bottom of the 8th leads off with, what was that, a triple? And ends up on third base with nobody out. And then he runs into an out at home. And then Canna, I believe it was, runs into an out at second. And it was like watching a pitcher blow a save. A team can't afford to lose a game like that. Granted, they were down at the moment, but they had an absolute chance to win that game yesterday. They did. And it felt like such a bigger loss because, like you said, everything's amplified right now. And, I mean, how much better would it have been to go into this Atlanta series on a 5-game winning streak, coming off a sweep, beating up a crappy team and feeling good about themselves? No, instead they start this 4-game series against Atlanta after totally blowing it at the end of the game yesterday. So, it's right what you said. I mean, these games, they all starting to feel supercharged. That's why these 12 games against Arizona and San Diego, because those teams are freaking hot right now.
Oh, man. My God. I do not want to face those guys right now.
Every time I turn on a Diamondbacks game, it happened the other day. I turn on the Diamondbacks game, double, single, homer, out, walk, single, homer. I'm like, how did they just score 6 runs in the blink of an eye when I haven't seen the Giants do that in a game without extra innings in like a month? It's just unbelievable. They're just so good right now. So the Giants they cannot afford to lose any games. That's why I'll take a 2-2 split this week with Atlanta. That's fine. I'm totally good with that. But you're right. Everything is amplified right now. And yes, the game in April means the same as a game in September. But no, the game in April does not mean the same as a game in September.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the analogy, and not everyone agrees with this. This is just what I think. When they say closer is just one of the toughest jobs in baseball, and a lot of people go, I don't understand. It's just another inning to pitch. They have so many pitches. Just shut it down. It's not that big of a. It's no different than the 5th. It's like, well, if you try to put it in a microcosm, right? Not pitching 20 pitches in an inning, but let's say, you're playing for your high school team, basketball team, and you get fouled in the second quarter and you have 2 free throws. You're not even thinking about the impact on the game. You just shoot your 2 free throws, you make them, you don't. Well, now fast forward it, and now you're at the line with no time left, and you're down by 1 point. I mean, that's kind of the difference, right? It's like you have to make those shots. If you don't, you lose the game, right? It's the same with closing.
I love that analogy.
it's the mental pressure is so much different, and people have to understand that, and that's why closers always, quote, have that special mentality, right? It takes that mad dog, I don't give an F mentality. But at the same time, I agree with you. I think so. There's sometimes, I don't think Camilo Doval is too nervous. I don't think he lets the game get to him. I think he is more like, whatever. I don't care. I walked a guy, whatever. Like, I don't think he's going, oh no, oh God, oh geez, oh no, it's all falling apart. That I don't think that's what's happening to him. So it's almost like you got to take some ice out of his veins because he doesn't care.
Yeah. Because like he'll walk a guy and he'll think, it doesn't matter, I'm talented enough to get the next guy. Yeah. Whereas other guys will walk a guy and they'll think, oh man, I got to bear down, I got to focus on this, I got to focus on that. And that's what he needs to be doing. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm just talented. And that's what he reminds me of right now, is a guy who has been skating through life on talent alone, excuse me, and when he's finally faced with a challenge, he doesn't know what to do because he's never had to react like that. So that's why I think he's going to say F the Giants. I think he's going to demand a trade or try to get out of the organization after this season. And I think if he does not get called back up, that might have been the last we saw Camilo and the Giants. But again, all speculation.
All speculation. And speaking of which, if anyone was interested in the Giants' actual statistical playoff odds, according to the experts, Baseball Reference has them at 19.5%. This is just making the playoffs, by the way. Fangraphs at 16.4%. PlayoffStatus.com at 23%. And then FanDuel doesn't do percentages. They just have money lines. It's what? It's $100. It's plus 350. So there you go. That's not that bad. That's about a 3.5 to 1.
Yeah,
3.5 to 1. They're not going to make it.
3.5 to 1.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. But like you said,
actually the best odds of all of those odds.
It seems like it, right? The other ones are like 5 to 1, basically.
Yeah. That's kind of
in a
crazy.
way. But I think if they hold serve and split, they're still in the hunt, right? They lose 3 out of 4, get swept. That's really going to put them in behind the 8 ball. But man, if they could. They just all season long we've talked about how they get up to 500 and they slip back down. They get back to 500 and they slip down. They get back up to 500 and they slip down. And here they finally got 3 games over 500 and things were looking really good. And yeah, it's only one loss that they had yesterday. They're going to lose games. They can't win the rest of the games. But that next step is, okay, now you've gotten to above 500. Now the next step is you got to take these important series, right? Just make your own destiny, because you do play the Braves, you do play the Cardinals, you do play the Diamondbacks and the Padres. The only team, I already said the Cardinals. The only team you don't play the rest of the season is the Mets. So This is it, man. Put your money where your mouth is, right? So if you can take 3 out of 4 from Atlanta and gain 2 games on them, fantastic. That's exactly what you need to get back in this race and actually leapfrog these teams. But if they slip back and they lose 3 out of 4 and they're back to 500 or below 500, you're back to the same old Giants again. So it's all going to start, though, tonight. It's going to be an interesting pitching matchup. We have Blake Snell against Chris Sale. And Chris Sale has been just dominant for Atlanta this year. I think he's like, 10-3 or 13-3 with like a 2-something ERA. He's just been kind of back to his former self when he was an ace with the Red Sox. But Blake Snell, let's talk about him, man. He was someone that we thought could be traded before the deadline because he had started to heat up after he came off the DL. And heat up is kind of a loose way, a light way of putting things, because ever since then, coming off, now granted he was not traded, his very first start after the trade deadline, he freaking throws a no-hitter. He had never even pitched in the 9th inning in his career. And here he is, pitching a complete game shutout no-hitter. I mean, that was just like right off the bat. It was like, holy crap. Like, he's been hot, but this is insane. And, since then, he's 5-1 with a 1.15 ERA, a .096 batting average against, 49 strikeouts in 39 innings pitched, and he's reduced his ERA down into the 4s. When it was remember it was in the 10s and the 11s? We were like, oh my God, What is this guy going to do? Now it's into the 4s.
And he was lasting like 2 innings. Yeah.
But, you and I talked about this, and we said, look, all this doesn't matter if he can become the second half pitcher that he normally is, and if they can sneak into the playoffs partly because of him and his second half performance. But then you got him at vintage Snell in the playoffs with Webb too. I mean, that's money, right? And I think any team would fear that, would absolutely fear that. And he's absolutely holding up that kind of, not prediction, I would say, but that kind of cadence he has in his career. He's a second half pitcher, and here he is holding it up. So I think tonight, even though they're facing Chris Sale, they got a Chris Sale of their own right now.
Oh, and not only did he throw the no-hitter, the game before it, he did something no pitcher in Major League Baseball history has done since they started keeping track of this stuff. He struck out 15 batters in 6 innings.
Yes.
So fully 15 of 18 outs, 5/6, were strikeouts, which is just absolutely ridiculous to think about, which is why he was at 103 pitches after 6 innings that day. And that seemed to kind of be what sparked his little role here. I mean, he did get into the 7th. He pitched 7 innings against Minnesota back on July 14th in his second start back from the I almost said DL. Man, it's been like 5 years. From the IL. And then he went on this little run, and he has been that second half pitcher that we talked about. It's been fun to watch him. I have been very critical of him. I didn't think the guy could pitch into the 7th or 8th inning. I thought it was more than just Kevin Cash. I thought it was the truth. But I hope Kevin Cash watched that no-hitter and realized, oh, my God, I should have kept Blake Snell in pitching in the 2020 World Series. Clearly he can finish the job. The 9th inning was like his easiest, quickest inning of the entire no-hitter. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. No, that was incredible. And I don't know what's changed. His curveball is money right now. His changeup is money. Mm-hmm. He's locating his fastball pretty well. He still walks a fair share of guys. He's always got that bugaboo, unfortunately. It's just the way he is. But then he, in his quotes, I don't have it verbatim, I have it paraphrased, but when they interviewed him after, one of the things he said was like, y'all can get off my back now about not pitching late in the games. And it's like, well, yeah, it's just one time, but okay, sure. Yeah, I get it, whatever. But yeah, if this Blake Snell pitches like this the rest of the year, holy crap, man. And the Giants can, same with Logan Webb. He's been on a roll lately. He had a complete game shutout, 1-0 against the A's. I mean, that's pretty cool when Bob Melvin puts you back out there with a 1-run lead, and you finish it off. That's pretty sweet. So those guys are rolling right now. You had Birdsong, who really started off like gangbusters. I was like, damn, is he the next Logan Webb? He's had a little bit of a reality check his last 2 starts, including yesterday. His ERA has definitely gotten inflated now. But, he's still got some good stuff. He just needs to figure it out. I'm not terribly worried about him, but he's also kind of a bonus baby. Like, we didn't see him coming this year at all. It was out of necessity. And now he's pitched well enough where we didn't even talk about this either. They got rid of Alex Cobb. They traded him to Cleveland.
I was going to bring that up, as I don't think that was the best move because of how Birdsong struggled. I know Farhan came out after the deadline and was like, well, I think we have the best rotation in baseball. Uh-huh. Yeah, well, there's a really good 1-2-3 with Webb, Snell, and Ray. But Harrison is now logging more innings than he's ever pitched before. Birdsong also logging more innings than he's ever pitched before. So we need to calm it down on the back end, guys, and thinking that they can just keep performing at the same level. That's why I think Alex Cobb would have been, perfect. Jordan Hicks, obviously, they're done trying him as a starter for the season. So there's another starter that came off the board aside from Cobb at the exact same time. So I'm a little confused as to why they even made the Cobb trade. Like, I think it would have been worthwhile to keep him, with the club. He could be taking, if Birdsong can go back and forth. And he struggled. So maybe he gets sent down and Cobb takes his start one of these times. So I was kind of a little baffled by that move because they don't have the depth. You just said it. Birdsong was totally not expected to be here. And here he is. And it was because they needed a fill-in. But those other guys are back now. Cobb, would have been back. Could still be stretched out if needed to be. So why get rid of Cobb as your safety net? So I don't know. Maybe there's an offer that they didn't like, but I didn't like the move. I think they should have held on to Cobb.
I 100% agree with you. 100%. I was listening to, he had his first press conference in the dugout after the trade was done, and they on KMBR they didn't bring it live, but they brought the whole thing right after it, so it was kind of almost live. Farhan Zaidi explaining the trade, and one of the things he said is, like you just mentioned, we have the best rotation in baseball. Well, I kind of laughed at that. I'm like, it's a good rotation. I don't think it's the best, but okay. But then, he said it with the emergence of Birdsong and Harrison and all that, we feel like we have the guys we need to go all the way. And so that was why they got rid of Cobb. And then the reporters asked the obvious question. They're like, well, okay, but if someone gets injured or Birdsong doesn't perform as well as he has been, then that's kind of a risk you're running, right? And he goes, yeah, it could blow up in my face. Like, at least Farhan completely admitted it. He didn't sit there and go, no, I don't think so. He's like, yeah, we're taking a risk. Absolutely, 100%. But sometimes you got to take a risk in baseball, and that's what we're doing right now. And that's exactly what I was kind of concerned about. I was like, I get what he's saying, about either a major injury happening to the starting rotation or Birdsong or Harrison regressing, Birdsong being the more likely candidate to regress. Then they're kind of stuck, right? And it looks like that could be materializing. Birdsong was fantastic his first 3 or 4 starts, and now the last 2, he's laid an egg, pardon the pun. Now, sorry. So
I didn't see it coming.
I didn't either. So now, it is a huge question mark. It's a huge question mark. If he does this, if he has a poor performance his next 2-3 starts, now you're getting into some consistency in terms of bad. So then you kind of go, well, what if they had Alex Cobb for those 5 bad starts that they lost all of? Would they have won 2 of them, 3 of them? That's a huge difference in the standings, right? Huge difference in the standings. So I agree with you 100%. I think Cobb, not only that, Cobb was a cheerleader for the Giants. He loves the Giants. He was trying to get everyone to sign with the Giants, right? I like the guy. I like his attitude. I like his body mechanics. Granted, he's 36, 37 years old. He wasn't going to last that much longer, but he's a veteran. He was an all-star last year. He was delayed a little bit by the finger blister, and that probably screwed him, to be honest, in the long run. If he didn't face that blister problem, he might have already been up and pitching. Either way, that's what circumstances kind of happened. And I was just surprised. I was kind of like, keep Cobb. You can send Birdsong down and give him some more seasoning and bring him back up when he's needed, right? And that's not what happened. So we'll see if it bites him in the ass. But already, really since the trade, Birdsong, I think, has 1 good start and 2 bad starts. So there you go. Yeah, it kind of sucks. The other guy that we haven't mentioned really at all, almost all year long, is Tyler Fitzgerald. He is secretly putting together one hell of a rookie campaign, Eric. I mean, this guy, he might even be considered, at least in the running for Rookie of the Year. He is just tearing it up. 315 batting average, 12 home runs. My God. That's where Soler was when he left the Giants. Like Tyler Fitzgerald, a skinny hitting shortstop / outfielder, had just as many home runs as Soler, and actually, if you look at his number of at-bats, far less than when Soler had 12 home runs with the Giants. Pretty decent defense, not the best, but okay. 12 stolen bases, almost 1,000 OPS, 994, and he has a 3.0 WAR, which is 4th on the Giants alone. So this guy, keep him in there, which he has been. I mean, Melvin is absolutely sticking with the hot hand, and I don't expect him to finish the year over 300. Pitchers are going to figure him out. They got the scouting on him. Things will start averaging out. But right now, he's showing some promise for potentially leapfrogging Luciano for shortstop of the near future.
Yeah, he was the reason that they could just let Nick Ahmed walk.
Yeah.
About a month and a half ago, they saw that he was starting to emerge at that time. Wow, his sprint speed is in the top 1% of the entire league.
Yeah.
It's been fun to watch him. He's like that little spark plug who has a little more power than you expect. Clearly, because he hit 8 homers in how many games? Something only Bonds had done recently. I mean,
and he homered in 5 straight games at one point.
Yeah, and the only other people to do that in Giants history are like Bonds, Mays, McCovey, Mel Ott, I think, might have been on that list. It's those kind of names, and then Tyler Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
It's just it's been fun. I love when guys like that pop out. I really do. And he has proven that they made the right move with Brandon Crawford. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Oh,
He's given them
yeah.
a lot more help than he would have given them at this time. So I'm just happy to see a young kid get a chance and them run with it. You know, it's fun to watch Fitz. He just seems to enjoy the game. He seems to enjoy being out there. He likes being part of the team. You know, and these guys, I don't know if you're seeing these celebrations when they get hits and they're looking in the dugout. They're really starting to get closer, it
Mm-hmm.
seems. You know, and Fitzy is one of those spark plugs that it's been. Like, I've been calling him Babe Fitzgerald for like 3 weeks now because of the tear that he's on. Like, there were moments 2 weeks ago when he was in the middle of his hot streak where I'm watching the game and I'm like, oh, I'll run outside after Fitzgerald hits and I'll sit back down and I'll watch Fitzgerald hit. Like, it's Tyler Fitzgerald. He became appointment viewing for a brief time.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
and he was
kind of
really,
crazy to
really
think
hot.
about, but it made it easier to bring Luciano back, actually, because he can then DH and get some at bats in there if he needs to. You know, they weren't overly impressed with Luciano's fielding in the first place. You know, you got Chapman on the left side of the infield with Fitzgerald to help anchor that, and Chapman's defense has been phenomenal lately.
Oh, over the
So,
weekend, it was insane. Oh, my Lord.
unbelievable.
Some of those
You know, I know we're
plays.
talking Fitz, but I was getting on Chappie earlier this year. I was so pissed off at the signing. He was making errors. He was struggling at the plate. I was like, I don't see anything in the guy that everybody seems to see. And now Chapman is absolutely the Giants' best player.
Yeah, he's
He is a
got the
steady
highest WAR
player.
on the team, by the way. He's got a
Yeah.
4.0. Bailey and Webb have 3.5. Fitzgerald at 3, and then Ramos at 2.1. So
That all
those are your
totally
top five.
tracks. Bailey's a little surprising, but that all totally tracks with Chappie. I think Chapman is the best free agent signing Farhan has made.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, like, just to give you an example, Jorge Soler, I mean, I know it's been 10 games since he's left, but he had a 0.8 WAR. I mean, that's it, right? So you
Right.
look at that value again, and that's why the Giants made that good trade. I mean, even Michael Conforto and Yaz have higher WARs than Soler. So,
And those guys have proven their worth lately, you know?
yeah.
I think when guys like Tyler Fitzgerald come up and do what they do, some of the vets like a Conforto will, you know, see that and be like, oh, you know, look how much he loves this. Oh man, I love this too. I got to get my, you know, and Conforto's been swinging the bat better. He's been hitting the ball to left field more, which is when you can tell he's swinging the bat better.
Yeah, for sure. And then Luke Jackson at a minus 0.2, by the way, just to let you know. Uh,
That's it? It's not minus 18? What?
Yeah, I think it's just, he doesn't have as many innings. You can only get so many minus WAR if you don't pitch like 40 innings or 50 innings anyway. Just every time he came in, it was like, no, stop it.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. That's why I say the Giants are guaranteed to win this week. Luke Jackson's going to come in the seventh inning of like a 1 or 2 run game where the Braves are leading, and then the Giants are going to like explode for 5 runs.
Wouldn't that be nice? Oh, I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. I mean, with four games, he's gonna be in there at some point. He's got to be. He's got to be.
At least 2 or 3 times. Yep.
Yeah, and just by the way, check in like you were mentioning Brandon Crawford. I know no one realizes he's having a good year. Everyone realizes that. But yeah, minus 0.4 WAR this year. He's hitting a 169 with 1 home run. And by the way, 0 stolen bases and only 4 RBI. So, I mean, Tyler Fitzgerald equaled that in like 1 game. So,
Yeah. Fitzgerald has more homers than he has hits, I think, than Crawford
he has
hits.
no identical. Crawford has 12 hits. Fitzgerald has 12 home runs. Yeah. And 12 stolen bases. Good way to put that. So, yeah, for everyone, and I still see the occasional, they should have held on to Crawford. It's like, no. Sad to say, this was a 1-year deal for Crawford, and after the performance this year, I don't see another team signing him next year. I think that's it. I think this is all she wrote for Brandon Crawford, and hopefully, he's 37 right now. He'll be 38 next year. Hopefully, he'll maybe take a position with the Giants, somewhere in the franchise. That'd be nice. I'd like to see something like that. But
Had he just retired, he could have hung out with all his buddies this weekend.
That's true. Nice segue into the 2014 World Series team reunion, which they had on Saturday. And like I put in the notes right here in all caps, how has it been 10 years? Eric, it didn't seem that long ago that I was watching Pablo Sandoval catch that pop-up in foul territory. How? 10 years? Kids have been born after that catch, grown up, and are almost 10 years old now. What? And they're Giants fans. There are Giants fans who you could have conversations with who were not alive during their last World Series title. And that makes me a little sick to the stomach.
Yeah, it's weird that 10 years has gone by like that. I'll say personally, I don't know about you, but I'm a lot grayer than I was 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I look in the mirror and I still think I'm the same guy, but I'm not. There's a lot more gray hair. I, like you, I'll never forget dropping to my knees when the ball got past Juan Perez that Alex Gordon hit in the ninth inning before the Pablo catch. Because I'll never forget, I fell to my knees and to the ground going, oh no, because I thought he was going to get the inside to Parker. And there's that man again, Brandon Crawford's arm saved us, because that's why they held Gordon at third, and inevitably Salvador Perez came to the plate and popped out to Pablo Sandoval, which, still those high fastball after high fastball from Bumgarner. But I didn't get to see much of the reunion this weekend. I saw there was a pretty good list of players, but 10 years is a long time. Like, most of these guys, if not all of them, are out of the league by now. And I think that's kind of what throws me is, all the players from the last championship should still be playing, shouldn't they? How come these guys aren't playing anymore?
I know. That's what's really weird about it. We have Brandon Crawford, if I'm not mistaken, I think was the only active player in the league since the 20 that was on that team. I could be wrong. There could be one or two other like relievers that are floating around that I didn't realize. But that weren't like major players, you know what I mean? And
Right.
Of course you have Bruce Bochy. So Bruce Bochy, of course, couldn't attend. He's managing the Texas Rangers, but he did record a video and they played it on the video board for everyone, which is really nice. And he told some funny stories. And then Brandon Crawford, of course, who was playing for the Cardinals right now, probably his last year. He couldn't make it as well. But the one guy that I was just surprised to see was Madison Bumgarner. Here's a guy who was still trying to make a club at the beginning of the year. And maybe this is a sign that he's kind of giving that up finally. He's realizing Father Time has caught up with him, and he's just not the same guy he used to be, and just go ahead and let the Diamondbacks pay out the rest of your contract for not playing and go have fun in life, right? Go retire on a ranch and do whatever you want to do. But because he is a very proud man, and people can get under his skin quite easily, as we've seen over the years, bit of a red ass. There was a little part of me that was worried that he might not show up. Not in spite for the Giants at all. Just more like, I don't want to be viewed as like a retired player. I want to be viewed as like an active player or something. But sure enough, he showed up and he had some wonderful words to say, and he was smiling and joking with everyone. So maybe he's accepted his new role in life and moved on. But you had you had the core four there. You had Buster Posey, of course. You had Joe Panic and a lot of the relievers and Juan Perez and others that you kind of not forget about, but just don't think about all the time. But it was interesting to see, like, especially some of the bullpen guys, some of the middle relief guys. 10 years is not kind to the body, even for these guys who are younger than us. You just, a lot of them put on 20, 30 pounds, like easily. Like they're all wearing these, matching polos with the World Series reunion patch on their chest or whatever, and you're like, okay, yeah, he's got man boobs now. He's got a big belly, right? That kind of stuff. You're like, and then you have guys like Buster Posey and others who are just like svelte and still athletic. But yeah, it was like, okay, yeah, some of these guys have let themselves go. But it was really cool to see everyone. Brian Sabian was there as well as some of the training staff and others. It was great. They brought him up in pairs and triplets with Kruk and Kipe emceeing, and Vogie and all these guys got to say their piece, Sergio Romo, etc. It was fun to see. It was really, really fun to see, and it makes you realize how fast time goes. It just is incredible. It's been 14 years since the first, 12 since the second, and now 10 since the third. And, you know, I think we have to fully acknowledge that that era in Giants baseball is officially behind us, especially with not a single person on the team or the roster that was a part of that team. You know, we've moved on completely, and we have to realize that. The Giants need to build a new legacy already. But again, beggars can't be choosers. We're not, you know, we're not the Cleveland Indians. So there you go.
Yeah, I'll still take the memories of those times. And I think Bum coming around, he'll probably get a plaque on the wall next year. I bet that we'll hear next year that Bumgarner's getting his own Wall of Fame ceremony.
100%. He'll get his own Wall of Fame ceremony. And I do think that in probably maybe 10 years' time, 15 years tops, there's going to be some new statues in front of the park. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's a possibility. You know? So.
Yeah, I mean, you get guys like, and I should mention this now, Orlando Cepeda. He passed away on June 28th, right? And we didn't talk about him like we did Willie Mays, but he's obviously has a statue in front of the park, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and he has his number retired by the Giants. And, you know, Willie Mays and Gaylord Perry and McCovey, these guys have all these statues in front of the park. And, you know, like Cepeda played for the Giants for like 7 or 8 years. You look at some of the duration of some of these careers, and they weren't as long as some of these Giants, right? Madison Bumgarner was around that long. Buster Posey was around that long. So They have career equivalents to guys like Gaylord Perry and Orlando Cepeda. Juan Marichal pitched a little bit longer, I guess, with the Giants, and he has a statue as well. But these are the guys that, if those other guys got statues, these guys definitely deserve statues, especially if they had a hand in winning 2 or 3 World Series. So we'll see, and that'll be interesting to see. I could absolutely see a classic Bumgarner mid sidewinder pose. Can't you?
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
what I see. I see that sidewinder pose. I see a Buster Posey's follow through with his bat. That's what I see there. He has that very unique follow through that he's always had.
That's what I pictured too when you said that. That's funny.
Yeah. That's just kind of the iconography that we assume. You know, the core 4 aren't going to get statues, but well remembered. Brandon Crawford is not going to get a statue. Brandon Belt's not. Oh, Brandon Belt was there, by the way, too. Dry humor as always. Absolutely hilarious when he had the mic. Just like he does. He hasn't changed. He has not changed. He is just amazing. Much fuller beard too. I think he's using a little dye. It was like fully black. But it looked really good. And he's another guy that I was shocked that a team didn't take a fly. I mean, someone signed Brandon Crawford but didn't sign Brandon Belt. Like, it just seemed odd to me, you know. But as these guys age up and age out, you know, I think he's another guy that maybe his career is officially over now, right? He's never going to play ball
I thought
again.
he would get signed. Yeah, I'm with you.
So.
I thought he would get signed.
I was 90% certain. Like, that's what I put it at. I was like, of course. I mean, you look at his numbers with Toronto last year; they actually weren't that bad. They were pretty good, and so I was shocked. I think he could have been serviceable somewhere, but no one took a flyer. So, yeah, we're seeing a bunch of our I won't call them heroes, but our Giants heroes that, you know, helped win 3 World Series. They're all fading out or are out of the league now, and it's weird to see time move in that manner and move so quickly. And but it is what it is. The Giants did a really good tribute, like they always do, over the weekend. And I was sad not to have been there, but I did watch it on TV, and it was well worth it. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube or something like that. But worth seeing.
I'm looking for it right now because I didn't get a chance to see it. You know, back to Cepeda for a minute because we didn't really cover him. There was when my dad's collection of memorabilia started growing, and if you haven't read my piece about my father and Willie Mays and the connections there, torturecast.com. But my dad, as his collection grew, he made it a point to get certain players, and the players that I remember specifically that were on the walls were Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Juan Marichal, Orlando Cepeda. So, you know, for a guy who grew up in New York and never lived in the same town that Cepeda played in, he still had the respect, you know what I mean, of my father, a fan from 2,000 miles away, which I thought was really just kind of interesting that Cepeda was always viewed as one of those. Everybody seemed to love him, but like I'm kind of with you. He was only with the Giants for like 7 or 8 years, and it feels like all these other guys were with them forever. And
Yeah.
I think that that's why it just doesn't seem to be as big of a, but that 30 and that 24, they're prominently displayed on the wall this year. It sounds weird, but if Cepeda had been able to hang on a little bit longer, we'd still be talking about Willie. Like I think a little more of the season would have been dedicated to Willie, but with Cepeda, passing away in a very short time after, it just kind of made for a like, oh no, all the legends are dying type moment. But I always thought it was cool. I knew who Orlando Cepeda was when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, and I
Hmm.
think that that's a pretty good legacy to leave behind.
Yeah, you're right. It was 10 days. I think they passed away apart from each other. Pretty remarkable. So the Giants are wearing both numbers on their jerseys right now. They're going to run out of room if anyone else passes away. I'm just saying right now, like, hang on, Marichal, please. He's like 84 or 86 or whatever he is now. So some of these guys really have lived really full lives. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Because I think Cepeda, wasn't he 86 or 84 or something like that?
Yeah,
So he was
something like
up
that.
there. Mays was 93. Marichal's in his late 80s. So some of these guys are good for them, living good full lives. But it is strange to see time passing in the way of legends dying and our what we consider current Giants heroes retiring or being out of the game. It's an odd one, but it's just like when I look at my own kids and my daughter's starting her second year at Berkeley and my son's starting high school, and it's kind of like, wait, what? They were just little kids. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
So a few more gray hairs, like you said. At least I still have most of my hair. That's good.
Yeah, that's fair. I
I'm
should
happy with that.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yep,
I'm gonna take the win. I can always color my hair, but I can't really replace my hair without like surgery or a toupee. So there you go. All right, well that's gonna do it for episode 304. We'll be back much sooner than that. We might be able to record this Friday. Well, that remains to be seen, especially after this huge Atlanta series. We might want to talk about it if it was a particularly good series. Now, if it was a particularly bad series, we might be less motivated to record. I'm just being very transparent with you all right now.
That's honesty. Yeah, it's the truth.
Hey, let's
If
talk
they
about how
get
the Giants
swept,
were swept by Atlanta.
right? If they get swept, our text thread's going to basically be, "Damn it! All right, we're not
Yeah.
recording."
Essentially. Yeah, like, why are we going to talk about this, right? Yeah, let's talk about how, the Olympic team lost the gold. But they didn't. Steph Curry went crazy town in the last 3 minutes and just hucked 3-pointers from anywhere he wanted and made every single one. So we could all celebrate.
That
Yeah,
was a bit sick. I thought it was also cool. Dansby Swanson's wife scored the game-winning goal
Yeah.
for Team USA Soccer. I thought that was a nice little connection there. And then, well, it's not baseball, but Simone Biles being married to a football player and him being there for some of her stuff was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was good. I admit I did not watch as much of the Olympics as I had planned to. I know it's all there on YouTube and NBC for me, but now that it's closed, I'm kind of like, eh. I saw the Australian breakdancer. Do I really need to see more?
Oh my God.
It's people like that that make you realize maybe I could be an Olympic athlete after all.
First of all, okay, wait a second. Why is breakdancing even in the Olympics? Why do we have surfing in the Olympics? I mean, is shuffleboard coming next?
Yet
Are these
baseball and
guys gonna start playing-
softball were removed again. I don't understand it.
Is bocce ball coming? I mean, come on. What are we doing here?
I don't know how the IOC makes up their minds on these things. It befuddles me, but
I get beach volleyball. Beach volleyball is quite a skillful game. It really
Yeah.
is. And I get sucked in watching the beach volleyball sometimes. But like some of these other things, I don't get how they're Olympic sports. I really don't. And I didn't watch a whole lot of the Olympics, but like I caught the gold medal game for basketball and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it's just what are we doing? Oh my God, that breakdancer.
yeah.
Oh.
I literally thought it was a joke when I saw the memes and the clips, and then I watched the full performance, and I was like, nope. It was just as bad as the clips were. It is horrific throughout the entire performance.
I feel so bad for the poor person. Like, they thought that they were good at something, and
Yeah. It felt like, when a little kid goes, "Hey, Dad, watch this." And you're like, "Oh, that's so good, honey. You did a great job." And you're like, "Oh my God, I got to get my kid checked for, some sort of disease," right? Because like that was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. And I look, I feel bad for her. She's like a PhD cultural professor of some sort, and she was claiming that she knows that she doesn't have the athletic ability of some of these younger breakdancers, and she can't pull off those athletic acrobatic moves that they do. So her performance is based on dance and movement and telling a story and interpretation. And it's like, that's not breakdancing. That's like,
right.
That's interpretive dance. Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, but how she was qualified as Australia's best representative of a breakdancer, I guarantee you there are 1,000 breakdancers that are tremendously better than her somewhere in the country. And for whatever reason, she somehow made it there. I don't know how. Australia's a big country. I don't get it.
It's like the joke, I see it crop up every time the Olympics come around. Like, if they really want to show us how great these people are, they'd have a regular person competing in the same events as them. Well, guess what? We finally got it in the breakdancing.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, I do feel sorry for her because she is all the rage of the internet right now, all the memes. And I love, like, point of view when your child, when you tell your child, don't touch anything. And they show her, like, crawling all over the floor, like, rolling and all that stuff. It's just like, this is going to be used so many ways over the next month.
Yeah. I mean, some of those moves could have been made so much better. They really could have, like, yeah, all right. I'm no dance expert, but I know, like you said, that was not breakdancing.
Oh, it's funny. Well, let's hope that the Giants don't play the Braves like she breakdances, and we'll be okay. All right, man. Well, that'll do it for episode 304. We'll catch you hopefully later this week if the Giants do very well. Otherwise, it'll be next week for our regularly scheduled programming. Eric, do you have anything to pimp or anything coming up?
Nope. Life's been busy, so I'm happy I got to get a podcast in.
Awesome, man. All right, thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you for 305. Until then, go Giants, and have a great week. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.